happened. That's where the families have lost connect with each other.
Sir,
It
if you look at,
is.
if you like NEP, they are talking about social impact. They're talking about
Mhm.
social connection. I think it's start okay, sir. We'll take it up offline, sir. Thank
Oh,
you, sir.
sure, sure.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
thank
thank
you.
you, thank you. Nice talking to you.
Pleasure, sir. Pleasure all mine.
Hi, very good afternoon to all of you. I welcome you all to this very special session. I welcome our key speakers, R.P. Sharma ji, Meenakshi Sothi ji, Kundan Lal Dogra sir, Sameer Trivedi ji, Jaswinder Singh ji, for joining us at this very special 122nd session of Leadership Talks. As you all have received the flow for the session, we'll begin the session with the formal introduction of our key speakers. And then I'll come back to you for your opening remarks and then for your main talks. But before I formally begin the session, with the formal introduction of our key speakers, I would like to share the background of these talks. In fact, when the draft document of national education policy had come out, even then we had gone to different cities. We had organized multiple interactions with many education leaders, and collectively we had shared hundreds of sessions with the MHRD and CBSE and other stakeholders. So when this final policy was released in the last week of July, since then we have spoken with hundreds of education leaders, and we realized that at one side this policy has raised enthusiasm, positivity among all these stakeholders. At the same side, a lot of people are apprehensive about the execution. They believe execution is going to be very, very challenging. Many believe finance is going to be a key concern. A lot of people have shared their opinion that teachers training is biggest concern area. So when we started, receiving these thoughts, we realized that we must invite all these stakeholders on a single platform to take their perspective, to take their understanding on national education policy. So with that thought, we had launched our first session on August 26th. And here we are today with our 122nd session. So once again, I welcome you all. And now you please allow me to share my screen. I'll, formally begin the session with the introduction of our key speakers. Yeah, once again, I welcome you all. As you know that these sessions are being organized by India International Education Council and School Lalaji Solutions. India International Education Council is a not-for-profit organization which is working in the field of education. It has collaborators from 12 countries. It aims to create a better world through education. It is also building quality centers for elementary education, approachable for all kids. It also, trying to find best educational practices across the globe and, to implement those in Indian institutions. It is also creating more awareness on hygiene and learning disabilities. It publishes a magazine called World Education Review and many other educational reports. It aims to build 100 chapters in different cities by 2022. It will soon open its membership for institutions and individuals. It also impart training for leaders, teachers, students, and parents. As you already know that we have so far successfully conducted 121 sessions. We have received 13,171 registrations for these sessions, 12,041 questions on national education policy. We have received participation from 5 countries: India, USA, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Nepal. From India, we have seen participation from 22 states and 91 cities. We aim to organize 200 sessions. With this, we would be reaching out to 100,000 educators, 20,000 institutions, and 1,000 plus eminent speakers like today's speakers would be joining us to share their perspective and thoughts on national education policy. Now with this, I would request you please join me in welcoming our key speakers for this very special session. Our first key speaker, a very senior education leader, R.P. Sharma ji. He's principal with Stephenson's International Public School, Jammu and Kashmir. He's an academician with 34 years of experience. He has been awarded and recognized many times for his contribution to the field of education. We welcome R.P. Sharma, sir. I believe he's there to join. Our next speaker, Meenakshi Soti ji. Meenakshi ji is founder principal with Doon Heritage School, Dehradun, Uttarakhand. She is an accomplished educationist with over 20 years of experience in teaching and school administration. She is a consistent achiever in school and college. Soti was the Meenakshi ji was the finalist of the Master Chef India Season 3. She's the most she also received the most versatile student award in college and innumerable prizes at debates. The most notable being the first prize in the inter-college dance competition. She was also the captain of her school and college hockey team. She has also acquired expertise in the field of acupuncture from All India Institute of Acupuncture run by Dr. Sudhir Khedawat. She is the founder principal of Doon Heritage School, which was established in 2013 with an objective to provide quality education to all of its students. Today, within 6 years of establishment, the school has grown from strength to strength. Although with the vigorous selection criteria, it has over 1,400 students in the school. We welcome you, Meenakshi ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next speaker, Kundan Lal Dogra ji. Kundan sir is principal with MV International School, Samba, Jammu and Kashmir. He has done MSc Physics.
Can you?
Yes, Meenakshi ma'am.
Hello, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, ma'am. You are audible.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah,
welcome,
I
ma'am.
recently joined, so I missed out a few of the things.
Yeah,
thank you.
We welcome you, ma'am. It's an honor to have you in the session.
Thanks a lot, sir. The same here.
I'll be coming back to you for your opening remark and main talk, ma'am. I'll be coming back to you after this introduction part.
Okay, so I'm waiting for
So our next key speaker, another very senior education leader, Kundan Lal Dogra sir. Kundan sir is total experience as teacher, coordinator, vice principal, and principal. Of 26 years, having been in the field of teaching for last 26 years. Has given him abundant opportunities to attend various training programs as a learner as well as a mentor. He has been conducting learning workshops for teachers and students in subjects of concern for the betterment of learning systems and high quality results. Being with children, interacting with them, guiding them, motivating them to be ethical achievers and learning from their experiences is the hallmark of his working strategy. Encouraging feedback from learners of his class is the best satisfaction that keeps him moving. We welcome you, Kundan sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Looking forward for a good session today.
Absolutely, sir. Welcome. And we all are very excited to have your ideas. I'll be coming back to you.
Sure.
Our next speaker, Mr. Sameer A. Trivedi ji. Sameer ji is director with Rahul International School, Mumbai, Maharashtra. Sameer ji is head of schools and colleges of Rahul Education, CISCE, CBSE, and CAIE in Mumbai. He strongly advocates education is about giving learners the skills they need to succeed in the new world and helping them grow the confidence to practice those skills. He is a passionate educationist who believes education needs to be all about empowering learners with transferable skills that will hold up to a rapidly changing world, not prescribed content that has been chosen for its past relevance. He's in education since 2000. He has expertise in CISE, CBSE, and IGCSE A-level curriculum. He has done many certified professional Cambridge courses. We welcome you, Sameer sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thanks a lot.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah.
And our last key speaker for this very special session, a very senior EdTech leader, Jaswinder Singh ji. Jaswinder ji is founder and CEO of Wordsworth ELT. He has an experience of 30 years in the field of education and technology and has also served as a consultant to UNESCO on education. Wordsworth English Lab is designed for India and is a highly research initiative of ACT UNIF Group. It is a trusted education company with 2 decades of service in technology, education, and training. Its expertise in technology, multimedia, and content development has been instrumental in presenting a world-class language lab solution for academia in India. In a short span of time, Wordsworth English Language Lab has managed considerable recognition across the country for its unique content and methodology. Over 3,000 installations in institutions across the country stand testimony of the quality in product, implementation, training, and continual service provided by ACT UNIP and its committed network of dealers. We welcome you, Jaswinder sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, Rajulji. Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Welcome, sir. So with this, we'll begin we come to the next part of this session. I would request all our key speakers if we can have your opening remark. So first, I would request Meenakshi ma'am. Meenakshi ma'am, if I may request you for your quick 1-minute opening remark.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to express my view. We all are here just to discuss about the new education policy and its implementation. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share my opinion, but I'm more interested to listen to all the eminent speakers first. I would like to share my opinion after hearing few of my key speakers. So don't start with me because I'm very new and
okay, no problem. We'll come back to you.
Yeah. So I'll just say that okay, I'll definitely go ahead with that. First, let me speak to my other co-speakers.
These are the very common signs of all great people, ma'am. They are always more interested in taking, the lessons from other people instead of, giving the lessons to others. Thank you, Meenakshi ma'am. I'll be coming back to you. Now, I would request Kundan sir, if we can have your opening remark. Sir, you are on mute. Kundan sir, can we have your opinion?
What happened?
Kundan sir, am I audible to you? You have unmuted yourself, but we are not able to hear your voice. Okay, I would request Samir sir, if we can have your opening remark. I'll come back to Kundan sir later. Samir ji.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, myself, Samir. As it is rightly said, there's always a line which talks about we should be always open to learning. So as a Samir, I'm such a person, been into the education field from last 21 years. I'm still a learner. And whatever experiences I have, I'm sure I'll be sharing in this today's session. But yes, more importantly, I'd like to even learn much more things from the panelists which are there right now in front of me. So to make it very short, this is my opening remark. Then I'd like to share much more when I come to my session. Thank you.
Thank you for joining, Samir ji. I'll be coming back to you for your main talk. Just would like to check, Kundan sir, am I audible to you? Okay, I believe Kundan sir is facing some because he unmuted himself, but sir, I would request if you can quickly log out and log in. That would help. कुंदन सर आप लॉग आउट करके एक बार लॉग इन करें तो आपका ऑडियो में कुछ है, हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि आप म्यूट अनम्यूट कर रहे हैं, सो यू आर देयर. Yeah. So I would request Jaswinder sir, if you can have your opening remark.
Yeah, thank you, Rajulji, and good afternoon to all the panelists. I will start with what Samir sir said, that we are all learners. Sir, actually, the day a teacher stops learning, the teacher ceases to be a teacher anymore. So it is a continuous process for us teachers to keep learning. And one very important thing, as a teacher, I have actually realized, the more you teach, the more you learn. If you have acquired something, you actually get to know it only when you start teaching it, that's what it actually matters. If you all remember when you all must have done your B.Ed, you may not have understood what was said, but when you started teaching, everything comes back, it formalizes. So yes, teachers are always learners and they have to keep learning. So with this, I start. I actually am from a company by the name of Wordsworth, and we are into the business of languages. So I am going to talk today about the impact of NEP 2020 on languages. You know, there's some disruption which has been brought in, which according to me is very good, and we have to look at it positively. And how does the change in language of delivery, language of teaching affect the next generation? What should be done? How do we make the best use of it out of this? That is going to be my topic. My second point is I'm from the edtech field, from technology side. So I'm also going to talk about that if we are going to face challenges in implementing, because this is a very big challenge. It's a huge disruption. There's a lot of new things that you need to do. And for a country of our side, not country, with a population of our size, we will have to do something. And what I think, technology is the answer to most of these problems. So that is what I'm going to talk on. I rest my case here. Over to you, Rajuji.
Thank you, Sundar sir. I'll come back to you. Now, Kundan sir has joined us. Kundan sir, can we have your opening remark, please?
Good afternoon. I hope I'm audible now.
Yes, sir. You're audible.
Oh, great. Well, this is a revolutionary effort taken out by the government to launch an education policy. Much needed. It should have come earlier, but even though it's never too late. But then the biggest role is the role of the teachers, the educationists, to implement this in letter and spirit. So my point of talk today would be the role of educationists, the teaching fraternity, and the impact that they can bring about in implementation. Thank you.
Thank you, Kundan sir. We all are very excited to hear your ideas. You know, with this, we come to the next part of the session. You know, I just would like to check, you know, because, you know, RP Sharma ji, do we have your presence? Because I see one name with the, no. Right, so Sharma sir is yet to join. So with this, we come to the next part of the session, but I would request Meenakshi ma'am, you know, if we can have your opening remark before we move to the next part. Meenakshi ma'am. You're on mute, ma'am.
Hello, can
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
you hear me now? Hello? Yeah, okay. So I just would like to share my expressions and whatever I felt like about this new education policy, how we're already into this kind of education process, and this new education policy has helped us even and going to help us to the better education policies and to do the education process even more better. So I would like to discuss that only, that as an edupreneur, when I have established this school, so I kept that particular thing in mind, and we have already venturing out this part, that the different vocational skills and different kind of subjects and the different languages, how it need to get integrated in the main curriculum, and how the holistic development of the child should be given more importance. And when we see this new education policy, we see that they have taken that into account, and they're definitely going to help us to make this education system better.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. I'll be coming back to you. So with this, we come to the next part of the session, which is the main talk session. But before I invite our speakers for their detailed interpretation on national education policy, I would like to share the learnings which we have had during our last 121 sessions. You know, during our last 121 sessions, almost all the speakers, all the participants who participated shared that this is a wonderful document. At the same time, you know, while sharing that this is a wonderful document and has a potential to place India at that coveted position of Vishwa Gyan Guru, same number of participants shared that this is going to be very, very difficult to execute. This is so ambitious as a document. Many believe that, you know, India, like we are going to have finance as a key challenge. A lot of people share that teacher training is a main area. A lot of educators also share that, you know, rather than teachers training, the intent of teachers to get trained is bigger concern. Many educators who participated shared that many good schools in urban areas already implementing these ideas. Challenge would be for rural school, for budget schools, or for government schools. Many people believe that this pandemic has exposed how badly the distribution of digital infrastructure we have in our country. So this is again going to be a big challenge. I would request all our speakers that while sharing your thoughts, your ideas, your interpretation, if you can also suggest some idea, some thought, or some best practice from your experience, which we all can try to execute in our respective domain, then it would create more impact and make the session more useful. So, I would request, Kundan sir, if we can begin with you. All these speakers will get 8 to 10 minutes to share their ideas in detail. And after this, we have received many
You're
questions on the
disturbing.
National Education
I
Policy.
can't hear you
We
properly.
would be putting these questions to you all for your comments and perspective. So now I would request Kundan sir, if we can have your ideas in detail. Kundan sir, over to you.
Yes. Uh, Thank you once again for this opportunity. Primarily, what I have been observing up till now was that the document is good, very ambitious. A lot of stress is being done on a lot of skills that our children need to have in the coming times. In addition to that, the teaching fraternity, who are actually the backbone of this system, who are going to launch this system, who are going to implement this in letter and spirit, they're also going to have good amount of training programs. Earlier, there were 35 hours of training. Now it's scheduled to 50 hours of training. That's a good sign, actually. But to look into all this, what I have as a suggestion, what I've been talking about at many forums is, one, education is the key for national development. Agar humne Gyan Guru, if you want to make India as a Gyan Guru, the gurus that who have to be the educators, they have to get the good recognition in the society so that better talent comes into this teaching profession. Second, we've got a lot of services, right? There's Indian Foreign Service, there's Indian Administrative Service, there's Indian Revenue Service. But the ultimate requirement is that of an Indian education service, where people are there who are looking into the implementation policies altogether. The moment there's a change in the political government, the whole scenario changes. So we are still in a fix whether do we have a concrete education system or not. Up till now, there are a lot of examples that we have been seeing nowadays. Up till now, we studied a lot of history, but now today we come to know that though the history that is being taught is very minimal, there's a lot more that we have lost out. So first thing, we need to have a concrete education services who looks after the fact that all aspirations of the students, the parents, the country are met with by the educationists. Second thing that I would see, when there's a lot of joining that occurs in army or any defense services, they take a raw talent. They train them for specific skills. Teaching today is not a temporary job. What has been happening up till now is you're not settled anywhere, get into teaching, then you can have your livelihood. But today's earlier, the knowledge guru was teacher. Today, teacher is not a knowledge guru. The whole the student in the classroom is technically much more, he's got bigger resources. He knows that the act somewhere else. So the challenge is on the teacher to implement this in letter and spirit. And he is trained in the skill of teaching. We all are aware about, we do a lot of interviews, we do a lot of job selections, a lot of levels through which we select the teachers. But at the end of the day, what teachers we get, they need to be trained and trained and trained. Ultimately, first we need to make them to unlearn. Then only we make them to relearn. What I suggest is let this forum help out in making a good training platform. The way Army trains its skills people, let the teacher training systems also have it the same way. We have been, I don't know, I am from Jammu. I have been seeing a very pathetic scene here in the teacher training colleges. Students don't even go there, and then they come out with a certificate of being a teacher, and then they do all their experiments on the students who are there, the future learners, future people of the country. So at this point of time, yes, as educationists, we have been doing our bit. I'm not saying that the situation is that pathetic. We have been doing our best at our own individual levels. This education policy has brought us all on the same page. NCERT is going to do good. There's going to be a lot of curriculum frameworks for the teachers. There are a lot of training programs for them. But when it comes to implementation part of it, the biggest role that the teachers have to play is important. Just a few days back, I share a small example. The schools reopened. I was walking around the classes to see as to how was the implementation occurring in the classes. There was a small child, he had got his mask down. So I looked at the child, I looked at the teacher. The teacher started, blaming on the child. I've been telling him time and again to put the mask on and he's not listening. I would like to throw him out of my class. I was so surprised. I looked at the child. He said, sir, I have a problem. He's a student of class 4th. I have a problem. I'm wearing spectacles and there's a lot of evaporation and there's a lot of moisture that is coming on my spectacles, and as a result of which I cannot see the board. Now, after having trained the teachers on all critical analysis and thinking skills, I looked at the teacher once again. The child was looking for a remediation. He had a trouble. A teacher who has been trained and experienced was not able to handle such a small problem that the child has. Even though we sorted it out by some method. But what is my point of perception here is, and what is my thought here is, even though we have been training the teachers, still there's a lot to do. Lot more to do. Then only the implementation and the success of this system would come into existence. There are a lot of new books have come, art integration has come, sports integration has come, experiential learning has come, vocational courses are there. But my focus still remains the teacher training, those who are the actual implementators for this. I don't know whether my fellow speakers would agree on this. Even though there are a lot of targets that have come up, that the teacher eligibility test would be there to select a lot of teachers, but then let there be a good attraction in the teaching profession, which attracts best brains. Countries where education system is strong are the ones where best brains go into education. Not that it is taken as a low-key job. With this, I would like to stop for some while and then we can have some discussions later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Kundan sir, for these, I would say, very useful and wonderful remarks. You talked about that we need a kind of services on the lines of UPSC and Indian, IAS and IPS, like Indian Education Service. And you made a very strong assessment that teachers are not anymore knowledge guru. The students don't come to teachers for knowledge and information. They come to teachers for perspective. And to offer that right perspective, teachers need to get trained. And that was the key highlight of your talk. We need to have huge amount of trainings in all aspects, for teachers to empower them. To empower them so that they become the right facilitator for those students rather than being an instructor. So thank you, Kundan sir. With that wonderful, I would say, that talk, you shared a lot of great ideas. I'll be coming back to you with questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, with this, I would request Meenakshi Sothi ma'am. Meenakshi ma'am, if you can have your ideas in detail. You are mute.
Yeah, hello, sir. I'm very much agreed with whatever sir has said regarding the teachers' training and being focusing on the ability of the teachers that they need to get enhanced. But we need to understand that why we are not getting quality teachers, particularly in this profession, because it is people are not very quality people are not joining this profession because a lot of financial aspects also associate with all this, because teachers are not getting paid what they are doing it, and imparting education and teaching profession is a very hard task job. And we need to understand that whether it is parents or children or teachers, we are dealing with humans, and it's very, very subjective to so many things. Like if the teacher is not been taken care properly, if they have not been salaried properly, if their working condition, their mental and their physical health is not up to mark, they are not being able to support themselves properly, it affects their capability also. So sometimes the training doesn't only matter, we have to see other aspects also. And we have to make this profession a whole comprehensive in such a way that the teacher need to get delivered properly, and more educated and more professionals and more capable people join in this profession, because imparting education is a very, very serious, responsible, and a very, very noble and very dedicated profession. And we do need teachers who are dedicated to this profession. So to make this dedication, we need to pay attention on other aspects also. We have to see their need also, their emotional need, their financial need. So one aspect I would like to say that this part of the teaching profession also we need to pay attention, one thing. Second thing, yes, it should be child-centric education. We have to make the holistic development of the child, and CBSE is doing its part, and this new education policy is also working in the same way. Like it has to be the overall development of the child, educational and the skill labor, so that the more and more employment generation occurs, because which is the need of the day, today's scenario. More and more different kind of languages, different kind of skills, different kind of vocational training need to give importance in the main curriculum, and the proper infrastructure should be given to the child, right opportunities need to be given, and so that there will be more and more employment generation. So what I feel that the education should pay attention towards employment generation, and so that we can help the economy also. So education has become a very important and a key aspect of our development, and this is what we are saying that, and I'm going to take with you further also.
Thank you, Meenakshi ma'am. You also talked about that apart training is yes, is the big important area, but apart from training, other aspects of teachers' motivation are equally important, and then they need to be taken care of. You also talked about why we need a very strong, robust, child-centric environment, for the holistic development of our learners. And you also talked about the importance of those vocational skills, that would eventually help us in, making our graduates, making our learners more employable. We need to teach them 21st age skills, be it, analysis, critical analysis, imagination, entrepreneurship, to more and more, employment in the end. The thoughts and remarks. I'll be coming back to you with questions. Now, now I would request Sameer sir, if we can have your ideas. You belong to a different generation. I'm sure you are looking at this national education policy, with a different perspective. Sameer sir, over to you. You are on mute, sir.
Sorry. Okay, thank you. Yes, I would like to start with change is the law of nature. Okay, if a person is ready to change, then learning happens over there. So to start off with, since I'm in the curriculum from last 21 years, been into curriculum designing and everything, I'll like to start like that. See, planning can be excellent. Planning is done on papers. Planning is very good, but until and unless it is not implemented the way it is required for the learners, every planning goes for a toss. So for that reason, I have picked up for today's session a topic where I'll be dealing with the challenges, solutions, and expectations with regards to 21st century skills. To start off with, see, we all have learned about, we all know about what is 21st century skills, but I'll be taking up the topic with regards to teachers and students with regards to this topic, that is 21st century skills. Now, there are no longer teachers now. Teachers need to play and role call as facilitators. There are no longer students now. Students have to be called as learners. Okay, so facilitators and learners, as soon as we start terminating these words into the classrooms, automatically learning starts over there. So to start off, I'll start like that. Why 21st century skills? Why there is a need? What are the challenges and what can be the solutions for that? So I can say like that, learning is a complete and holistic only when a student is able to effectively perform and fulfill his or her responsibilities and duties towards self, school, family, society, and above all, the nation. The goal is to enable today students to be a good citizen and a responsible human being who is well aware of his potential and competence. Now we say 21st century skill, but why we say it is required, why there is a need for it? So I can say like that, today, because of this rapid economic and social change, schools have to prepare students for jobs that have not yet been created, technologies that have not yet been invented, and problems that we don't know that is going to arise for our generations which we are dealing with it. 21st century education is about giving learners the skills they need to succeed in this new world and helping them grow the confidence to practice those skills. Now we know that when we talk about 21st century skills, we all are aware about this 4 C's. That is creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication. But I like to focus more on this. This 4 C's need not to be understood as units or even the subjects, but as themes that should be overlaid across all the curriculum mapping and strategic planning. See, generally we focuses on, okay, creativity should be there, critical thinking should be there, collaboration should be there, communication should be there. Here the leaders as a school or teachers, they start training the students. They said, okay, now put it on the digital boards, put it on the classroom boards, this, and let's start focusing on that. Rather, I believe this should be put into the curriculum planning. This should go into the strategic planning. Then only I can achieve my goal. More important, I can say like that, they should be part of every lesson in the same way as literacy and numeracy. Now, there are other skills that are more important, which fall within these 4 areas. Let's talk about entrepreneurship, which can be considered as a skill of its own. Why? Because here comes inquiry and your problem solving. Let's talk about emotional intelligence. It is also most important key to successful work and relationship. Now, what are the challenges which we face when dealing with this 21st century skills, or what are the issues which we come across while dealing with this 21st century skills? So I'd like to just bring out few pointers in this. The issues can be, now we know that the education system is not meeting the current demands of students and the globalized world. Skills are invaluable for all the students to succeed in both colleges and career. Skills are undervalued and underrated in the present educational system. But why this happens? What are the challenges to do this? Quality of education, access of education, cost of education, discipline, unemployment, poverty, casteism, corruption, and more important is what I believe personally is unawareness of teachers. Now, as I say, education in every society is concerned with teaching children how to live in the society. Whether this is a matter of survival or a matter of how to have a good life. There will always be some education in relationship with other people. This may be to do with how to respect others or how to work within a group or with the rituals of human relationship. If you ask me personally, challenges I can say in our line is to work with the 21st century skills a movement will require where keen attention is to curriculum, teacher quality, and the assessment. I'll repeat, to work with the 21st century skill movement will require keen attention to curriculum, teacher quality, and the assessment. More to throw some light with regards to teachers on this, I can say that 21st century skills or 21st century teachers need to serve as a guide or a mentor for the learners, not as the all-knowing sage providing them with all their information. Teachers here need to be more empowered as facilitators and motivators for learning so that they can empower their students in turn. If we do this, this shift is great news for teachers. Instead of struggling to give kids all the information, they need to succeed in areas the teachers know a little about. They can support students as they make their own steps into different fields. It is more important about preparing kids to go beyond their parents and teachers, making sure that they have the skills to do it, and then helping along the way as they build confidence to achieve. This means that teachers need to be forward-thinking, curious, and flexible. Teachers must be learners, learning new ways of teaching and learning alongside their students. Simply asking questions like, what will my students need 20 or 50 years from now? How can I help them with those skills? Can change your mindset, make you a leader, and help you bring about change in your classroom, school, and community. So to conclude with this 21st century skills, I can just say like that. Educational leader and teacher play a positive role and create such environment which will able to cope up with the issues and challenges where student will learn by doing. I can give an example over here. When I was as an educator, I used to go and visit the centers as well to just check how the implementation of the curriculum happens over there. And mostly where in my this 21 years of journey, mostly I'm in the Cambridge curriculum only, where designing the curriculum is concerned or implementation part is concerned. The key skills which the students lack is, when we say international curriculum, we teach Spanish, we teach French, we teach XYZ over there. But do we actually teach them how to stitch the clothes? No. So the basic creative skills which are required for the students, if we start implementing in the students right from the grade 4, I'm sure they'll start learning, they'll actually value each and everything which is required for the life to do it. So here, every child will move forward at their own pace, according to his competency, and the way forward will be abundant and diverse. Here, every child will have functionality. This creates creativity and new environment for 21st century in India. So this is about my thoughts regarding the skills which needs to be given to the students right from NEP says grade 6. I believe we can start from grade 4 or grade 5 also. Thank you.
Thank you, Sameerji, for sharing these, I would say, useful and very fresh thoughts. And we all agree with you, sir. You talked about the importance of, planning and execution. You talked about you shared your assessment that skills have been, very underrated into our education planning. And this NEP makes an attempt to break, that kind of conventional practices. You also talked about that we need to put our keen attention to, teachers' quality, curriculum, on regular basis to achieve the desired goals. You also talked about the importance of recognizing the uniqueness among all children. And you made your assessment, and, we all agree with that we need to celebrate that uniqueness. We need to, I would say, use innovative practices to identify, recognize, and strengthen those unique capabilities of our children and learners. So thank you, Sameer sir, for these strong and valuable thoughts. I'll be coming back to you with questions. Thank you, sir. Now, with this, I would request Jaswinder sir, sir, if we can have your ideas, your thoughts, Jaswinder sir.
Thank you, Rajulji. I will start with what everybody has talked about: teacher training. Everybody's talking about teacher training. That's very, very true, because whatever policy we may come up, whatever infrastructure we may put in, unless the teachers do what they're supposed to do or are capable of what they're supposed to do, nothing is going to change. So that's an important part. But coming on to this, Sameerji, you did talk about facilitators. Very true. We will have our teachers to be facilitators, because the problem is our teachers will never be able to outpace the students, or rather learners. The learners are gaining knowledge and information faster than what teachers are doing. We as teachers need to recognize that, and we need to come into the facilitation mode rather than a teacher that I know everything sage part. Very true. So how do we start doing that? There are questions, yet this is a problem. Everybody knows this is a problem, but what is the first step of making a teacher from a teacher to be a facilitator? First and foremost, train them on technology skills. Train them on how to go and find out from where, how to use the internet and get to know everything. How to be able to say, I will prepare it and discuss this tomorrow. This is important. Nowhere is it written that all the teachers should know everything. Because let me tell you one simple thing. I'll give you a simple classic example, Dogra ji. I'll give you this example where it says that if you look at something, that let's look at our teachers. Our teachers, for them, the curriculum used to change in every decade, right? But today's teachers, the curriculum changes every year. Same teacher, same 24 hours, same husband, same mother-in-law, father-in-law, same kids, same household activities, and you have to gain everything new. How do you expect humans to do that? So if a teacher needs to do that, she or he has to take support of technology. So that is the foremost thing. How to use the internet is the simplest thing. How to go look for information, how to filter information, and how to put it forward. That is what I talk when I talk about teacher training. We cannot expect teachers to know everything. But this is the era where you need not remember everything. You should know what to look from where and how. That's all. So if we do that, a lot of our work could be taken up, because teachers will have to be trained and retrained and retrained and retrained. How many times will you train them? It is like, instead of feeding somebody, teach them how to cook. So instead of training them every now and then, teach them how to learn and from where to learn. And that's exactly what we're talking about our kids. We're telling, let's teach them how to learn. So that's an important part there. Coming on to the second part, where my focus is on NEP 2020. When we talk about NEP 2020, I say that there's a disruption. It's a disruptive policy. Huge change, positively. Let's look at languages. The most important change that they have brought in is that schools can, it is not should, it is not must. Schools can teach in the local language up till class 5, and if required to go up to class 8. What does this mean? That in the early foundation years, let the child be taught in the language of his choice, his understanding. Let me take simple example of Hindi. Sameer sir, I suppose you are a Gujarati? Because
yes.
Trivedi, yes, sir.
Yes.
So I am also a half Gujarati.
Okay.
So I will take an example. I'm from Ahmedabad, sir. Okay, anyway. So I will take example of Hindi. एक बच्चा जब स्कूल में जाता है, उससे पहले उसे हिंदी आती है. अगर हम कहते हैं कि नहीं, when the child comes in, he should be taught in English. So first he is acquiring English and already getting taught in English. He is not acquired English and he's being taught in English. So he gets confused. And that's where they lose interest. That's where the foundations are not clear. Now, why I asked you, Sameer sir, about Gujarati? I am from Ahmedabad. I was born in Ahmedabad. I was raised in Ahmedabad. My age, I'm 50 plus. My age people people who are in my age, most of the doctors in the city of Ahmedabad are from Gujarati medium. That doesn't mean students of Gujarati medium were smart. No, their foundations were better than our foundations, right? So what I say is, teaching in a local or the base language or the mother tongue is a very, very nice thing, but only to a certain level. But that does not mean that Hindi or English should not be looked at. They say that a child can acquire up to 5 languages by the age of 8. Why not multiple languages? There's another research which says if a child speaks 3 or more languages, their brain works better. Imagine one sentence, you use 3 languages and still it makes meaning, logic. So what we need to do is we need to give equal focus to the local language, to English, and now one more language, which is classical language. In our case, our part of the world, where Kundanji is there, or Sameerji is there, or Soti ma'am is there. In our part, Sanskrit. In the south, they're going to work on Tamil. Our classical languages, they have a lot of importance. Let's understand why. First, let's understand why the local language. Not only will the child understand, he will also respect his own heritage, where he is from, that city, that state. Second, why a national language like Sanskrit? We get to know what our ancestors have done. We are the oldest, among the oldest civilization. We have got more knowledge, more information in the scriptures, which we are hardly reading. So they will get to know more, plus the feeling of nationalism. This is a time that we need nationalists. So that's an important part. I'll give you a simple example. Recently, we had confrontation with China. They were 5 times our soldiers. But why were we able to stand out? Because our soldiers were there for their motherland. Their soldiers were there for that Communist Party. So if you bring in nationalism, because this is a time in the world when you have to do for your country also. That is what is working. So if you get onto this, recently, since I told you that we are in the business of setting up language labs, Government of India asked us to create a language lab for Sanskrit. We have a lab which teaches Sanskrit now, Kundan sir, right? So what is happening? In fact, all the KVs are already, we are implementing that. So what this is doing is that this is a classical language. I myself had not opted for Sanskrit when I was studying. But now when I say it's so easy, if explained properly, if exposed properly, use technology, you'll be able to do that. So coming on to the point is, this 3 language system is great. Though it is not compulsory to teach in the local language. A lot of schools are not going to do it. But I say at least mathematics and science should be taught in the local language. Because that is where concepts have to be understood. Foundations have to be clear, and you can have multiple languages at the same level. No point having a higher level Hindi and a lower level English, or a higher level English and a lower level Hindi. Why can't all the languages taught at the same age, same level? Kids, they say they are like sponge, or they are like mud, or they're like clay. Whatever falls on them, that shape is formed. So why not multiple languages? And clinically and scientifically, it has been proved that this is what works. So I'm going to rest on that. The next part is technology. We are talking about so many students to be brought into the main line of studies. 2 crore students who have dropped out, to get them back, to open 50 new schools every week. Not possible. To have teachers at the remote possible place. No, not possible. Kundan sir, आपके यहाँ LOC पे मैंने centers बनाए हैं आर्मी के साथ में training के. With the help of technology. Man, machine may not reach everywhere, but technology, a computer, a tablet, a phone, and internet can reach everywhere. So we should digitize more and more. Second, schools should be a place where they learn social skills. Rest of things can be done at home. Technology can help. So, Sameer sir, you were talking about social impact. You were talking about social, because India is the most stressed country in the world, other than North Korea. We are not happy. We are stressed. So Delhi government came up with a happiness curriculum. It was fantastic. It gave excellent results. Why should a young child commit suicide? Schools should be where they collaborate. Schools should be where they have fun. So that is why in the foundation years, they have said no teaching, only games, only fun. They should love to come to school. And a happy head is always a intelligent head. Let that happen. So I see all that happening in this NEP 2020. But the point is, it is the onus on us as teachers, as edu leaders, to create that environment, to let that happen. Let the child open up. Let him speak up. Let the teacher be creative. We should not say, itna hi padhana hai. Do it. You know, I've been teaching. We've trained around 25,000 teachers across the country. You know what the concept is? I am going to teach you how to speak, but please keep quiet. How does that happen? I say, language class, there should be a lot of noise. If one speaks, the other speaks, and the third, that is what we work on. So if this is what we work on, nothing is impossible. And if literacy is good, everything will go good. So I give all positive points to NEP 2020, but we need to understand it. We need to make the parents understand, and the students already know that they are in game for something excellent. They can choose what they want to study, and they can excel in their own things. So that is where I rest my case. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jaswinder sir. We all agree with you that happy heads are the healthy heads, and they are the there's an intelligent mind, which stay there. So we all need to work in collaboration to build that environment where our focus is more on developing those new age skills rather than the conventional setup of rote learning. Thank you, Jaswinder sir. And we also talked about that we need to use technology as a tool. We must focus on that. In fact, during our previous session, one eminent speaker also shared that we need to understand the balanced use of technology and human resources. So this is a new world and absolutely demands new practices. Thank you, Jaswinder sir. I'll be coming back to you with question. So once again, a big thanks to all the key speakers, Kundan sir, Meenakshi ma'am, Sameer sir, Jaswinder sir. Now with this part, we come to the last part of the session, the question part. We have already received many questions, so I'm going to present these questions to you all. So I would request Kundan sir, if I may present the first question to you.
Yes, please.
Kundan sir, this question has come from Ms. Mahima Thapa. Mahima ji is teacher with Doon Heritage School. Mahima ji's question is very categorical question. Mahima ji wants to know if you can highlight 2 or 3 key features of this policy, that would create a big difference from the previous policy. 3 big change maker points from this policy. Kundan sir.
Earlier, when we used to, collective family, children learned a lot of things from their elder siblings. They learned it from their uncles and aunts. Everything was not being done by the parents. Today, it's helicopter parenting. Parent doesn't want child to touch anything. They don't want them to go anywhere. They don't want children to explore anything. The beauty of this policy is a child walks into the school and explores himself. You are not going to teach him the day he comes in. There was a very, one of our discussions, one of the panelists said that a child was walking with his father in the market and he saw that a lamb was shouting. So he asked his father, why is this lamb shouting? He said, this is a butchery. The lamb is being taken to be butchered. The child said, oh, I thought he's going to the school. So look, what is the perception of the child for a school? That it is a place which is terror for a child, But then this NEP is a beautiful document. It is making the child to come and enjoy himself, to explore himself, to know himself. 1. Second, children, they lived in a community where they could see a lot of people working and a lot of professions already there. Children knew where the milk came from. Today, a child knows that the milk comes from a shop. If you tell him the milk comes from a cow, there can be a lot of children who may not even be knowing about it. Similarly, about lots of skills and traits, if they are to be taught in the school, it will help them good. Third thing, if I am asked about the 3 parts only, the third part is the health and the wellness. See, whenever we grow up, health has to be primary thing. If we don't know what are healthy habits, if we don't know what keeps me healthy, and if I'm not healthy, how will I be successful? How will I have the energy to work throughout the day? How will I take over the stress that comes on a daily basis? So three beautiful things. Children explore themselves. Children learn a lot of traits which they were not getting to know earlier. And health and wellness is going to make them understand their life and have a happy life in the times to come.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Kundan sir. I'll be coming back to you. Now I would request Meenakshi ma'am, if I may present the next question to you. Meenakshi ma'am,
Yeah,
you are.
yes, please.
Question
Just
has come
continue.
from Ms. Pooja Sharma ji. Pooja ji is a PGT Commerce with MV International School, Jammu. The question says, under the new system, one has to study for 4 years to complete their graduation. However, the question arises as to why the student will continue, with the program if he or she can get the diploma in 2 years. So I believe she's talking about that multiple exit and entry system. So she is, making a comparison. If a student will get diploma or certificate in 1 year or 2 year, why they would be interested, for that 4-year program. So I'm sure she is imagining that there would not be any difference between 2-year program and 4-year program. So what would be your assessment, Meenakshi ma'am? I've also pasted the question in the chat box. I'm doing that.
Yeah, because this particular aspect has been added, and but it's not that the new education policy is covering all the aspects, and they are again in an experimental level, and even we also feel that going to be very good at to options to the student, because children, when they are at the age of 17 and 18, our experiences have taught that they are very confused, and they need a very good discipline and a controlled environment where they develop their conscience to make choices between do's and don'ts, or where to go, how to go. So I feel that till 18 years they need to be in a very controlled environment, and they should be guided properly. And 18, when they will be coming for the 3 years degree courses or the 4-year degree courses, then they will be able to make right kind of choices, that which particular direction they want to take,
Ma'am,
or what they
question
need to
actually is
go.
talking
So
about.
yeah.
Question is actually also talking about. I
Hello?
would request. Yeah, Meenakshi ma'am, मैं आपसे एक और रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि जैसे क्वेश्चन में शी इज आस्किंग let's say if a students enroll for a 4-year degree program and he is receiving a certificate after after the first year, a diploma after the second year, so why he or she would be interested for the 4-year program?
Yes, that I'm saying, that what it used to happen now. Yeah, that's in higher secondary. So after 11, they used to do 4-year degree courses. They used to go for the graduation program, and after higher secondary only. Now the concept of 10 years. Again, there is option that whether they should go back to that 11 plus 4-year degree program. Something like that. They have introduced in education for that. I don't think study this, whether it is good enough or not, because if you are going to give this kind of option to the child, it will not work. It will not work. So I feel whatever the older system in that particular way, we should continue that only. But that is my personal view. That's my personal view.
Right. So I'll come to Kundan sir with the same question, but I have my personal thought here. If our institution is offering quality and it is obviously adding some value in the 3rd year, another amount of value in the 4th year, so obviously there is a clear-cut difference. If you are getting I would say 2 units in 2 years, 1 unit in 1 year, so obviously you are getting 3 units in 3 years, and then the 4th unit in the 4th year of your graduation. So there is a difference. But if institution is not adding any value, so this is up to that student. He can realize after first year. And most of us realize in our first year or second year that we are not learning anything. Either that could be our fault that we are not learning anything. So we can pursue some other programs. So that is the biggest benefit, I believe. I would request Kundan sir if we can have your point of view on this.
Yes, I would like to take a call from here itself. That a lot of children, they take up a course initially under the peer pressure or under the parental pressure or under some inhibitions, but later on when they are going through the course, they come to realize that, okay, this is not my cup of tea, I should have been somewhere else. Now they have already done something, so why not to give him a kind of a certification? So he gets a diploma, then he can switch over to another set of course. Second, those people who think that the 3-year course or a 4-year course would not be different, of course it will be different. A diploma and a degree are two different things. A diploma engineer and a degree engineer are two different people. So that adds value to his qualification, makes him eligible for different set of job opportunities, work opportunities, and it gives him a flexibility. The diploma part is good because, say, if a child wants to switch over after doing a course for, say, example, 2 years or 1 year, he still has it in his hand that I've done something. It will add to his qualification. It will add to his value system and the skill set that is already got. A certification is always good. But then a 4-year course, if it is completely with respect to a degree, it will be definitely better, giving him an edge over the diploma holders. That's what I can say about it.
Absolutely.
Rahul
So
ji,
Jaswinder sir has a
yeah.
point to add here. Jaswinder sir,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I'll tell you why. There are two things. See, what we say is if a person completes only 1 year and drops out, we call him as a dropout. No longer will he be a dropout. So in our country, the number of dropout, that number will go down. That is the political point. Okay. The second point is if a child has financially, he has trouble, he can do a certificate or a diploma, go work, come back and do the other part. That's the second part. The third thing, what Kundan sir already said, that if he feels that this is not the right choice, he will at least get some points for that and then go, because the entire degree system is going to be on credit base. You may do any combination of courses, but you need to have 250 credit points. So that is what is going to work in. Second, if a child thinks कि अगर 2 साल में मैं निकल सकता हूं, मैं 4 क्यों करूं? As it is, वो 4 करके कुछ नहीं करने वाला. That is important. If somebody thinks क्या फायदा 4 साल जब 2 साल में मुझे वो शादी करने के लिए सर्टिफिकेट चाहिए, वो तो वैसे भी मिल जाता है. You study so that you become professionally qualified to do a certain thing. So that is what our students need to know. सिर्फ एक शादी करने के लिए सर्टिफिकेट चाहिए कि ये भैया पढ़ा लिखा बच्चा है, इसकी शादी कर दो. That is not what this policy is worried about. This policy is worried about if somebody wants to study, after a break, they can always come in. If a person has some trouble studying, let them go, outwork income. And if I were to take up a job or this thing, I would do the diploma, go do 1 year of job, come back, because I will be there with experience. So my learning in the 3rd and the 4th year would be better that without that 1 year of experience. Even that works, because real life scenarios, once you've gone through that, that works. If you do your graduation, do a job for a year, and then you do your MBA, you are much better than a direct MBA. That is the option. Pehle ye option tha hi nahi. These are the points. Yeah, please.
And before I go to Sameer ji, I have a very real life example on this, sir. I had a batchmate in engineering in first year, Abhishek. He was a singer, music mein kuch karna chahta tha. So he, after the first year, during the first year, he realized that, engineering is not for him. पर 1 साल उसने और लगा दिया ये सोचने में कि क्योंकि उसके पेरेंट्स ने बोला कि पहले इंजीनियरिंग खत्म कर ले, उसके बाद कुछ सोचना. और वी ऑल्सो लाइक फ्रेंड्स लाइक अस, वी ऑल्सो टोल्ड हिम, अरे यार पहले इंजीनियरिंग खत्म कर, तू कहीं का नहीं रहेगा, ऐसे बीच में छोड़ेगा तो. ही वेस्टेड हिज नेक्स्ट 1 year just exploring कि मतलब उसको he was frustrated, he was in stress. Today he has traveled more than 35 countries, and he left the engineering after 2nd year. He is a certified and well accomplished cultural artist, I would say. He's traveling to various countries. He's performing at various venues in different parts of the world. He's earning much more than from many of our batchmates who are so established, who got the campus placement. He's much more earning in that terms of monetary amount. So this flexibility, this new part of this policy is certainly giving and rescuing many Abhisheks from wasting their 1 year. That's very precious in their life. So we all agree with you all. Thank you. Now I would request Samir sir, Samir ji, if I may present this question to you. This has been asked by Miss Sunanda Sharma ji. Sunanda ji is a PRT Hindi with MBA International School, Jammu. The question says, is it possible that there is no pen paper test for class 1 to 2? Samir ji?
Yeah, thank you for the question. May I request you to say, please say the question again?
Right, sir. Is it possible to have a no pen paper question for primary classes? I would say she specifically asked about 1 and 2.
See, for grades 1 and 2, I prefer pen paper test, because if I go, let's say for grades 1 and 2, let's say they are up to like 5 years, 6 years of age, they will be not so digitally so strong to appear or to give the examinations, online examinations. I'll tell you my example. During this lockdown period, this was in the month of April or in the month of June. Okay, and after completion of particular units, we thought of taking examination over the online examination, and the examination mode which we had selected was MCQ and one-liner answer. Okay, the most difficult age group which they were not able to do it, maybe because of internet issues, maybe because of the tabs or whatever, the systems not available with them, or the time limit in which they were supposed to appear the answers, they found it more difficult. If I talk about grade 6 and above, they were more comfortable to do it. Okay, so for grades 1 and 2, I don't prefer online mode of examination. I prefer pen paper test only.
Right. So, but what are policies suggesting? Is it suggesting a no pen paper exam?
No.
It is suggesting no exam.
No exams.
It is suggesting no exam, paper, pen, nothing.
No exam.
Not online. This is not a time to test when he is there to have fun. So no exam, that is what the policy says.
Right.
Yes, to add
Thank
to
you.
it, if I can,
Yes, sir.
see a child who is in this small age group, he basically needs to know certain spoken skills, certain basic numeracy skills, which can be tested by virtue of some activities rather than putting him to a test. He's so small to be tested for so many things that we are putting him to as of now. No, we want him to have a good communication skill, which is required at that particular age group. And after all, good communicators are the requirement of the time. And these small people who are chatterboxes in the classes, if they are trained to, come out with their expressions and put their point, I think that should be the beauty of the testing system in these classes. Thank you.
And this testing system is just to test the gaps, the disabilities, to find out, does he need some external help? Rest, nothing has to be tested. They will grow.
They will. They definitely will.
Right. Absolutely. So now I would request Jaswinder sir, if I may present this question to you. This has been asked by Ms. Nisha Rawat, PRT with the Doon Heritage School, Dehradun. The question says, what would be the major changes in school curriculum? What changes you perceive, Jaswinder sir, in the school curriculum?
Oh, that's a very, very interesting question. There will be no curriculums coming up. You will not have curriculums. You will have a can-do statement. This age level, this is what a child should be able to do. Do it your way. Teach him your way. The teachers will be allowed to be creative. Students will be allowed to be creative. The way they have the IB curriculum. They don't ask you that this book, that book, this thing, that thing. No. At this age, you should be able to do this much. Can you do this much? Yes or no? So curriculums are going to go off. It's going to be a new term known as can-do statements. At this class, can he or she do this? Can he or she do that? That is what is going to come up. So very soon, be ready for no curriculums, no textbooks, research-based learning. You will not have one set fixed of 200 pages and uske andar se 200 questions. No. The student has to decide what is good. And the questions in the exams are not going to be based on one book. It's going to be on critical thinking. It's going to be on high order thinking. It is on literacy. It's on numeracy. So that is not going to matter. So I don't think that is what the change is, what I look at.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Samir ji.
Can I add here? See, what I feel is it should not be content oriented, it should be process oriented.
True.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Jaswinder sir and Samir sir. With this, we come to the end of this wonderful session. But before I request our speakers, for your concluding remarks, I just would like to take a minute in explaining what exactly we have been doing at School Lalaji Solutions. I'll share my screen for a minute here. And after that, I would, request all our speakers for their concluding remark. So some of you are already aware with the School Lalaji Solutions. We are India's largest one-stop solution platform for educational institutions. We are present in 42 cities. We are working with somewhere around 4,500 institutions. We help educational institutions in three ways. We help them in buying right thing from right people at right price. We also help them in selling their old items, like their old buses, generators. We also help institutions in raising money. That may be in terms of loans or free financing. Why there is a need for educational institutions, for a platform like School Lalaji Solutions. You already have your old suppliers, your team is expert, you believe that you are getting good discount. Why you need a platform like School Lalaji Solutions? Because of, two important factors. One, India, in our today's education ecosystem, we have more than 10,000 educational suppliers, from all these categories. Smart class, uniform, insurance, diesel, solar plant, language lab, security solutions, furniture, recruitment, music classrooms, healthcare, robotics, STEM, STEAM labs, career counseling, stationery, digital marketing, IT solutions, educational tour, generators, learning tools, and finance. There are many more categories, apart from these categories. So it is practically impossible for school leaders like Kundan sir, Meenakshi ma'am, Samir ji, to meet and interact with all those people, to understand their products in detail. It is practically impossible. So many good companies with wonderful product and services, they die even before they reach out to sufficient number of people. Here we come into picture. We understand your school, your taste, your budgetary limitation, your actual requirement, and we also have that category experts who interact with different companies almost on daily basis. They understand their features. They negotiate with them on your behalf. We offer our services in these all categories, which are there on the screen. And we take the guarantee that we'll save at least your 5% annual expenditure. At least 5%. So that's kind of a 5% additional revenue generation. Just one example, we saved for different schools, in bus insurance, the amount was to 2 crore 40 lakh rupees in 2019 alone. These are some major highlights: 8 megawatt plus solar installation, 3,000 bus insurance, smart classrooms, 2,000 plus cameras, 350 plus training programs, 56 old buses we sold from one school to other, uniform in 42 schools. By the end of 2021, we aim to reach out to 10,000 institutions. We need your support, your guidance, your blessings. I'll end my talk here. Now, with this, I would request, our speakers, if we can have your concluding remarks before we wind up the session. But we have also established one very interesting practice. And while sharing your concluding remark, if we can have your idea, your priority that you would like to implement if you get a chance to become Minister of Education of our country, what would be your priority? What would you like to do if you get a chance to become Minister of Education, let's say for one day? So, I would request Samir sir, if we can have your concluding remark, and what would be your idea that you would like to implement if you get a chance to become Minister of Education? Samir ji.
Why to start with me?
Right. यहाँ पे एक क्वेश्चन आपसे बोलते बोलते मेरे दिमाग में आया. I'm sure Kundan sir, Jaswinder sir इस पे बताएंगे, मोनिका मैम, मीनाक्षी मैम इस पे बताएं कि India has young ministers in all kind of ministries. But I'm just trying to visualize, but I don't think India has ever had young education minister under 40, under 35.
Can I say first?
Yes, Meenakshi ma'am.
Yeah. Sir, thank you very much for giving this opportunity, and I loved your idea of this, whatever the solution system you have come. As an entrepreneur, I'm saying this to you. I say that I consider myself a very ordinary person, an ordinary citizen of this ordinary country. But I do have a lot of hope about this country.
ये तो आपने वैसे बोला कि मोदी जी कहते हैं कि भाई मैं बड़ा आम all great people maintain that.
Listen to me, just give me 1 minute. Just give me a common person, a common woman. I started this organization, or I established this organization being a single lady after the age of 50. Before that, I was just doing the teaching portion, and I was a principal. You can say that I came from an employee section. And you must understand that all the academic people or the education people, they are not moneyed people. And the money people are not educationists. There is a bad combination in that way. So with a limited capability or whatever the experience I have, I came up with a very innovative idea that I just wanted to do something good. I just wanted to have an ideal learning place in this country. And with this very noble thought, I have started my school. And yes, I did face a lot of challenge, but I was able to make my dream come true. And everyone helped me, even my country helped me, even everybody helped me, the whole government system helped me. And today I'm running a successful school. So if I feel that if with a limited capability, if I am able to do whatever I wanted to do, and I got whatever the little bit I could achieve in short span of time, just in 6-year time, I got a school with 1,500 plus children, and I have got one of the best staff, and I have got one of the most quality student around, not only in quantity and quality in both, whatever. So God has been very kind that they have given me this wonderful opportunity. I'm very thankful to this country also, and I'm a very, very optimistic person. I feel that अगर मैं कर पाई तो कोई भी कर पाएगा. और इसलिए we have to have this, and whether it is new education policy, whether it is CBS, whether it is education department, whether it is anywhere in our country, everybody is helping each other. So we do have problems, but I don't think we can't do anything. Nothing is impossible, I feel.
Right.
I can only share my experiences.
I would add one more part. Meenakshi ma'am, I would add one more part to this. That you have been a teacher, you have been an edupreneur, you have been a successful entrepreneur. You have a successful story to motivate lakhs of other people like us. I would request, what would be your priority? I'm sure you have seen it all. You are saying it all. You are just sharing the all positive side of your story. But I'm sure there have been a lot much struggle, lot much challenges you have faced during your journey. So I would request, I would request, what would be your priority if you get a chance to become Minister of Education? So for you, we are giving you 2 days.
That's only I just said that. You need to give respect to the common child. You have to give respect to the common child. You have to understand that the common child of our school deserve everything, not only education, but one of the best childhood. Like they need to have some playgrounds also to play. They need to have all kind of facilities. And today's generation, today's child, the common child, I'm not talking about the privileged children who are already born in a very affluent families. I'm saying the common child. And the common child of India deserve every bit of it. So we need to give respect to our child. We need to understand their need. And we have just tried